Greetings everyone, my name is Etterville, and welcome back to my Let's Play of Mega Man Maker. On tonight's live stream, I'll be covering the level pack Fe-amgn by Spacetwoo, who is joining us in the chat right now. From what I understand, this is more of a beginner-focused pack, quote-unquote. So, I'm probably going to breeze through most of this, but I'll evaluate the same way nonetheless, because many of the same principles I talk about, or rather most of them, about challenge progression, introductions, escalations, and climaxes, and the overall balancing between levels, that still applies here. It's just toned down for more novice players. Yeah, AMGN. So let us begin with episode 0, some tutorial. 23 plays and a score of 7. If all goes well, I'll be able to complete all of it tonight. Feel free to discuss other things while I cover this. Welcome to stream, Manubi, Spacetwoo, Jaden, and all the other watchers. Okay, just jumping. I see we're going really into basics. Actually starting us at how to jump. And now how to shoot. How to climb up and down ladders. Ow. Force damage there and showing how this works. Like, this is like an something designed absolutely for beginners who are just newcomers to the series, so... And now we have a mid-boss encounter. And so they picked one of the easiest one of the most straightforward ones. The stationary boo beams. The main challenge here is just shooting them and dodging the shots. I'm assuming we can only jump and shoot here, no sliding or charge shots, in which case, I would say the tutorial is mostly sufficient. I would give one special weapon like Rush Coil or Rush Jet, but I would have preferred a little bit more of a hands-on tutorial, but I guess with his absolute basics, this works. On to episode 1, Intro Suburbs. 25 and 14. Okay, some of the lore. It was originally called Another Mega Man Maker Game... something. Okay, tutorial continues. Shoot the targets to teach us how to open the doors with the keys. And now we're out for real. With actual, more dangerous enemies. Yeah, cool blue guy. Word of advice, if you're playing this as an absolute introductory player, I would not put spikes here. I'd replace it with the electrified ground. You know, get players' feet wet and you want to be nicer. So to de-emphasize this in that, in these early levels, I just replace the bottomless pits and spikes with electrified grounds or whatever. Or put teleporters just underneath where the bottomless pits are, so if you fall in there, it'll just send you back. Showing us when to face a black desert bottomless pit. First use it to dine in a safe environment. Ouch. I don't need that E. I'm good. Teaching us about the spike guard, or rather if the players want to go for it. I'm going to really elaborate on stuff here because this is totally designed for someone who's a novice player to Mega Man, probably hasn't played any of the Mega Man Classic games before, and is just getting your feet wet with Maker itself. Because of that, you want to be very careful of what challenges you want to introduce to the player and how punishing it is if they make a mistake. Like, if this was a regular level pack, I wouldn't be complaining about the use of spikes and bottomless pits, but in situations like these, you want to be very accommodating, I'm gonna say. Like, as a first stage, this is mostly fine. It is on the basic side because of only one gimmick, but getting your feet wet. I wouldn't necessarily use the Dines as the first gimmick, if I was to be honest. I'd probably use falling blocks or... I don't know. That's actually a good question. If you're making a regular Mega Man stage for someone who's completely new to Mega Man, what would be the first gimmick you introduce to them? As in, level gimmick. Okay, here's the story. After the events of Mega Man 11, it turns out Dr. Wily from Mega Man 8 is not Dr. Wily, but his secret evil twin named Dr. Wily. Yeah, I'm not going for that. A. Okay, a little bit more of a step up because I have to jump and shoot consistently for this. Also, if you want to go for the fast one, use the weakness. And before, you could just go up and step there and just shoot the blue beams, no problem. Here, though, you need to be a little bit more careful with positioning. And you can also get back attacked by the tellies. When thinking about basic gimmicks, I'd say I would agree. It'd either probably be falling blocks, although the problem with falling blocks is that they can potentially crush players, so that's a bit... I know it's again a kind of basic challenge, but we're being nicer here. Conveyors or Yokus, that would be something nicer, because with Yokus, they can't crush you unless there's multiple in direct series, but we'll assume like it's 1 or 2 blocks. 1 mostly. If you fail Yokus, you just fall off. And with conveyors, they push you in one direction or another, so assuming they're not combined with spikes or what have you, the punishment isn't that harsh. Yeah, those things, Yokus and conveyors, or conveyors especially, would be something that would be easy to pick up. Because in general, how they work is that they push you back or funnel you forwards. And it's easy to counteract them. Either run against them if they're slow enough, or keep hopping. And we're assuming the conveyors don't switch directions, just to be even nicer. Yokus would be one step above it with the timing, adding the timing of jumping on the blocks. Falling blocks also has a timing element, but the blocks don't exactly respawn unless you re-enter the screen, but players may pick up on that fact, so Yokus I put before that. Part 2 of the story. He also kidnapped Rockman to turn him into the evil Cobblestone Man, but he escaped during the tutorial. Okay. Inter Suburbs, it's almost there for a decent intro level, but it needs to be a little bit more tweaking. Alright, Episode 2, Blade Factory. 18 play, score 6. By the end of this pack, I'm assuming the difficulty goes up to something like intermediate. Okay, using the skull to show that, hey, the crusher is going to come down here. Okay, here's another word of advice. To make it even nicer to the player, instead of making the crusher making the crusher uncovered, put a line of blocks just above. See where that hole that leads into the stage is? Put a line of blocks just above that, so that when the player goes right next to the crusher, it'll impact against that line of blocks and there's no way the player can get hurt by it. Instead of here where it's just, if a player doesn't pay attention or doesn't recognize it, they'll get hit. Okay, slower ones, good. And now this one, I would switch the use of the previous one with this one, and then make this a third use. This forces players to pay attention to what's happening. teaching the player that some enemies have different firing arcs. Speaking of which, here are conveyors. This is actually clever. The first use of conveyors is working with the player, pushing them forwards. This one also pushes forwards. What I would actually do is switch the direction actually. Make it so that it opposes the player. And maybe remove the enemy and put it in the next screen. See, this is actually a better first introduction to the Crusher if there wasn't the conveyors, because now players can see, oh wait, if they go next to it, if they go close enough to it, it goes down. See, you don't have the opposing conveyors yet, you're going for all the same direction. So we got the faster ones now. Would have preferred a background though. This is a little bit too plain. You can have basic levels, but while still having a at least decent looking background. Combining the two together. Okay. Well, you even have bonus challenges for players who are a bit more skilled. So kind of like the star coin areas, that's actually cool. That's actually a good idea. So players, if they want to go for a bit more advanced challenges, if they're skilled enough, they can do so. Oh my. I think with Mega Man 4, Capcom nailed how to tutorialize the gimmicks and what have you. But 4 is not what I unfortunately, 4 is not what I recommend to novice players. Okay, Bomb Man. I don't know if I'd actually would use Bomb Man here because this is kind of tricky depending on where he decides to jump. Well, I can manipulate that, sure, but players may not realize that. And of course, if he jumps off screen, it help. I hope the ground's solid. Let's find out. Nope. Yeah, for this side of the arena, I've seen it before many times, but please have a solid ground for this one. The secret M-Tank it's a secret M-Tank dimension. Every stage has one. Hi, J Butters. I'm covering this more beginner-focused level pack. When I say beginner, I mean like absolute beginner. That's why I'm being a lot more critical about some of the difficulty. Now, I wouldn't be criticizing this as much if this was located in the secret M-Tank dimension. Because this is a little bit too much of a difficulty spike, and depending on how the pattern works, players may end up getting screwed over. Good place to test this out. Good idea using the blockies because they are really weak to the Hyper Bomb. Like, players can test out using just the Buster, but then they'll immediately see, oh wait, the bomb actually works even better. I haven't seen it yet, J Butters. I wanted to comment. I want to respond to your comment, Manubi, but I'll do that for this stage because it's very pertinent to what I feel about the Mega Man series. It's specifically referring to Mega Man Classic, but it can also apply to the other Mega Man games or sub-series, the 2D platformer-wise. Welp, no Hyper Bomb for me anymore. Okay, just rush it. Every stage has one secret M tank, but there's also one secret E tank. Oh wait, Link's... Oh! This is clever. Most of the stages from level packs, or even not from level packs, don't use this, but you have a stage loop. Because players actually went by this earlier, and someone may be thinking, oh, what's here? And then we loop back here. That's neat. Hi, Metal Man. Oh boy. This, I don't know if I'd put Metal Man in this sort of arena because, oh goodness, this actually makes it harder. Like, if you're gonna be a bit more beginner I should say that. I'll stop saying more beginner focus. For this pack's focus, you really want to be careful about where you first show bosses. This is harder than the base Mega Man 2 encounter. Why, you may ask? Low ceiling. And if you don't have any RM tank, oof. Too much of a difficulty spike. Like, okay, I'm okay with most of the rest of the stage, but the battle against Bomb Man was too complicated. And this is too hard. I mean, even me as a more experienced player actually has a little bit of trouble here. Now, if you gave me the slide, it'd be a little bit of a different story, but eh. Okay, Manubi's comment. Mega Man's physics and enemies are more complex than most platformers in many ways, so it's important to give the player room to figure them out, especially without an actual gameplay tutorial. And in most Mega Man games, Classic, referring to Classic here, not having an intro stage. That's why Mega Man X having an intro stage was so revolutionary, teaching the player that hey, they actually have wall kicking now, and also basics of movement, basics of movement and combat. What makes Mega Man's level design more complex, or what makes Mega Man's game design more complex than many of its contemporaries is that it has an it tends to have an even focus between platforming and combat. With Mario game, let's use some examples. With Mario games, most of the difficulty comes from the platforming. There is enemy combat, sure, but they're usually not too complicated to deal with. Like, referring to the NES era, and also to a certain extent, SNES, also applies to the SNES era, to quite a bit of degree. Like, they're not action platformers, they're just platformers. Meanwhile, Mega Man and the like, sure, they have the same level of platforming complexity, sometimes more so. They have about the same level of platforming complexity with gimmicks, but add on top of that the enemy design, where the combat is much more, or far more, involved and complicated. Like, not only do we have the pea shooter, we have various other weapons and utilities to use to take care of enemies in various configurations, and the enemy AIs are noticeably more advanced and varied to deal with. And they're placed in such a way that you have to take into consideration, when going through levels, you have to take into consideration both the level design and combat. In essence, in order to be good at Mega Man Classic, you need to be at least good enough in both platforming and the combat, or run and gun shooting. With Mario, you just need to be good at the former. Even if you're not that good at combat at Mario, it doesn't really matter. 2D Mario, because platforming will take you far enough. And the combat's simple enough to get a hang of anyways, but in these sorts of games, it isn't. Having the gimmicks you start out with being basically easy to understand is kind of a double-edged sword. I agree. At least this stage tried to vary it up more. My issue is that it may have overtuned the difficulty with the bosses. This is why having things like the optional portals, or in Nintendo's case, optional collectibles like star coins, red coins, etc., they're so handy. It allows to keep the general difficulty curve while offering optional challenges for more daring or experienced players. See, I'm okay with Metal Man being a little bit tougher to work with as of how aggressive it can become if you're too trigger happy, because it teaches players that sometimes you don't actually want to button mash too much. But this arena is not a good idea. It makes him too aggressive. And yes, with Mega Man you have to pay attention to the enemies. You have to pay attention to both the platforming and enemies to actually persevere. Yeah, Mega Man is also heavily positioning and pattern-based, and especially in the early games, telegraphing leaves a lot to be desired. That did get fixed in later games, but in the early era, ugh. Yeah, with Mario and Sonic, the strategy used to be just stomp or bounce off the enemy and they get destroyed, or use the Fire Flower or Spin Dash into them, or roll into them. And when that didn't work, that's when enemies got really dangerous. Shellcracker, anyone? Whereas in Mega Man, there are many different ways to deal with enemies or to straight up avoid them. Plus, on top of that, there are numerous, way more different setups to that, thanks to the increased complexity of the enemy design. But at the same time, that also means that there tends to be a higher skill floor required before you can really get into the series. Anyways, Episode 3, Mount Geostone, 21 plays, score of 10. Quick Man is not a good boss for beginners. Didn't help that the AI is glitched in 2. Oh, we get the siding here. And the tiling is a bit off in this left corner. Ah, with that enemy you're forcing players to slide to avoid. Oh. Elevator. Okay, Spacetwoo, what is it? Yeah, that describes a lot of the classic era bosses, unfortunately, because of how pattern-based they are, and how much memorization is required before you get good enough because of lack of proper telegraphing, or lack of sufficient telegraphing. Introducing heat gimmicks, eh? Okay. This is something that's that's not exactly trivial to teach the players without pointing out to the health bar. I'm gonna put a citation needed to the statement of most non-hardcore gamers. In the NES era, well, it was multiple different, there was competition for that, but in the current era, I don't know. This is an interesting topic to carry over too. This is actually an interesting topic to carry over about beginner design in general. Or designing genres or games for beginners. The answer is it depends, Jaden. Sometimes bosses can be too telegraphed, but like many things, the answer is it depends. How much telegraphing is necessary? Whoops. It really depends on the confluence of factors. I can't just put one answer. Like, it's dependent on the speed of the boss, the intended difficulty, complexity, story significance, etc, etc. Like the bosses in Mega Man 11 are way more telegraphed than the ones in the early era, but I would dare say they're more enjoyable to fight, and they're not easy. Like, just because a boss is more telegraphed doesn't necessarily mean the attacks are easier to avoid. Because you still have to react because A, you have to react in time, and B, react properly. Just because the boss is telling you they're gonna do something doesn't mean that A, you'll react in time, or B, react correctly. Or C, in some cases, even be able to react properly. I don't know what happened there, but I at least got this. But yeah, I'm pointing this out because I'm gonna have similar discussions when I get more into certain Souls-likes. Like, I would like to play Demon Souls or Dark Souls on the channel. I just wish the prices, especially for Dark Souls, were much more reasonable. Like, come on, Bamco. It doesn't need to be that expensive even with the remastered port. And besides, the OG Dark Souls port was kind of a mess. I would not put that scaffold there because it makes it more difficult to make that jump. Okay, about the charge cake, I will use the double jump a few times, but I'll see. And besides, there's another trick in regards to the charge kick you didn't even mention, but I will showcase that. I can see that, Manubi. Usually pretty much all the fan games I've seen are designed for people who are already fans of the series, aka they've already played one or more titles in that franchise. So they can more safely assume that players have at least some basic level of experience, basic to intermediate, already being familiar with the format and gameplay of the series in question. And that way, they have more leverage to try out stuff that the games themselves don't have the time to do, or can't do. As well as things that players, as well as numerous things that the games themselves wouldn't be able to do without alienating their target audience. So here's the air jump. I'm only going to show it for this one, because I want to show something else. There's the air jump. And there's a double charge kick. Like, if you initiate a charge kick off a platform, you can do it again in midair. Or like this. See if I can actually do this correctly. Yes, I can do it double. Perfect. Demon Souls, well, I'm stuck with emulation with that, but PS3 emulation's pretty cool. Like, I'm also up for checking out Demon Souls, but we'll think about that. But I can only do that trick if I initiate the charge kick on ground. If I do it in midair, I can only do that once. The Water of Life. And besides, it rewards players for paying attention to what's happening. To be fair, in that case, Jaden, that was more of a glorified cutscene, made a bit more interactive. That was more of a story influencing things. So I'm not going to criticize it that much. Ah, Stone Man. TBH, I think he's an easier boss than Metal Man. It's way easier to understand how to bully him. All the bosses, I quite like all the bosses in 11. If only Stone Man could punch you. Well, anyone who wants to go for a more difficult challenge or prove themselves, they go for Souls-likes. One of the key reasons I want to check out Souls-likes more is because multiple of the games I already own are Souls-likes, so I'd like to see the forebearer of modern Souls-likes, and that's basically Dark Souls. I was gonna say Granddaddy, but Dark Souls is not the granddaddy of modern Souls-likes. That is more Demon Souls. Or if you want to talk about Great Granddaddy, we need to talk about Kingsfield. Like, it's quite interesting seeing the direction how From Software evolved from the OG Kingsfield titles to Dark Souls, or to the Soulsborne-likes, and how different games are taking different inspirations from the different games in that lineage. It's cool. Like, I am gonna at least sample Kingsfield 2, referring to the Japanese title, but I don't think I'll beat it because, oh goodness gracious. Shadow Tower Abyss I will play to completion though. That is a very interesting game. Especially how it has a spiritual successor, Fly Knight. This stage was okay. Like, the way I described this pack so far is okay or decent, especially for beginners, but it could be a lot better. Like, this stage in general, I think the previous stage, Blade Factory, was interesting because it had more involved uses of mechanics in more clever ways. This one is a little bit too basic. Remember, a challenge can be easy while being interesting, and a challenge can be hard while being boring. Tenchu is interesting because of how it's a direct inspiration of multiple stealth-based action-adventure games, but and also some of its DNA's inherited by stuff like Sekiro. Wait, hang on, I think I'm getting the names wrong. Yeah, okay, yeah, Tenchu. But, in terms of Souls-likes, not so much, so I'd probably ignore it. Like, enough of the DNA, I can get by with enough of the DNA by just playing Sekiro. Like, they're in different genres. Kingsfield set up Kingsfield is a great-granddaddy or great-grandparent for Souls-likes, modern era-wise. Tenchu is went in its own category. I mean, if you want to also talk about other things, we should also talk about Armored Core for mech battling. Because Armored Core was also was very influential. Was and still is. Anyways, 4th up is Sewer Kingdom, 12 plays and a score of 5. I haven't played those games or haven't seen much, so I can't really comment on that. Ooh, first full-on water level. And conveyor. First instance of a Sniper Joe. I wouldn't use this as the first instance of a Sniper Joe. Also, you forgot to include the background on the left side. Never mind. Okay. The first Sniper Joe variant I'd teach the players wouldn't actually be this. It'd probably be the Mega Man 2 variant, aka the orange one. It's a lot more basic, understandable, or readable. How many images do you have to paint, Jaden? I saw the DM you sent me. I understand that. Well, the screen didn't lock properly, so, I'm not sure what happened. Yeah, there is a difference between having a few things going on at once and having a bullet hell with Mega Man's hitbox. I don't recall there being a Sniper Joe in the first episode. I have to check. If there was, then I retract my statement. Yeah, something can be difficult basic, and... like, something can be hard, basic hard, and complex hard. Or, to put it another way, something can be difficult and not complex, and something can be complex while not that difficult. Complexity and difficulty are two axes that somewhat intersect. Oh no. Falling off screen. Power adapter. But enough of this talk about our things, let's actually move on with the pack so we're not stuck here for the next 15 minutes. Okay. Oh, like in one shot. Not gonna lie, you introduced the boss too quickly after getting the power adapter. That's too soon. Ladder grabbers. Oof. Yeah, please remove the Tondorals on the sides. Again, too difficult. Like, we went from 1 to 2. We don't need those enemies on top of that, please. Hang on a sec. I'm pressing the wrong button here. There. I can do it. If I press left, that's the problem. There. Wait. I see that. You aren't hiding from me. Actually, maybe you are. Wait. Okay, let's see what's down here. Nothing. That's just a minor challenge to make it more enjoyable, Spacetwoo. Remember, you want to also incentivize players to experiment with their weaponry because it makes it more enjoyable. And I'm not breaking the challenge either, that much. If I was super breaking the challenge, sure, I wouldn't do that. But for these minor things, at least give me the luxury of doing that. You want to incentivize players to experiment. Like, I'm gonna avoid the really broken skips if possible. And it should be. But stuff like this, yeah. "52 images per playable character." How different are each image? I'm trying to see that because depending on the number of player characters, that can be a lot. Look, I understand you didn't know that you can perform air jumps here, but you couldn't perform. Look, I understand you didn't realize players can perform air jumps using the charge kick, but for these minor things, just let me be able to do it. Huh? What am I supposed to do here? Oh, that's, okay, I see it. I have to do... Wait, I can't even reach that. The only way I can reach it from doing a charge kick is by performing a charge kick jump here. See, look at the distance. If I initiate a charge kick, I have to do an air jump in order to make it across, because the water platform will not be... Yeah, it was introduced earlier. Okay, back to the start. I guess you can jump down and do the charge kick that way too, yeah. How many player characters are there, Jaden? And how different are each of the poses for the images? Trying to remember where to... I'm guessing go left. Your game, Jaden. I'm referring to your game, or the game working in question. How different is each image in that deck per character? Like, is each pose very different from each other, or are they similar enough to where you can reuse some stuff? And my next question would also be, how many player characters are there? Plushy. Ah, okay. And there's W. Excuse me? Where's the boss fight? Okay, that was an rather anticlimactic ending. Like, at least the other stages ended with a boss fight. This one just felt like the climax was walking next to a brick wall, and there's the end. Then that screen felt incomplete too. I'm okay with having no boss fight, but you should at least have a proper stage climax, and this didn't. Adding a boss to the end of the stage does tend to fill the role of a stage climax. It's just that, huh. Episode 5, Castle Invasion 1. 12 play, score 3. Okay, just for the Kickstarter demo, only 2. Wait. I'm trying to calculate something. Okay, so a poker deck, 16, 4 colors, 4 times 4, 16, got it. So you need to draw 32 images then. I was gonna say that if the poses are similar enough, you could reuse some of the poses and just do minor tweaks to each one of them in order to speed up the process. Like, right now you're only going to be doing it for Jack, Queen, King, and Ace, but for the other ones, you could potentially, for 1 through 9, I think, if I remember correctly, you can just have a similar pose for each of them, but just make minor variations to speed up the process for future versions. Let me repeat this. 2 to 10. Got it. Okay. So for those, you could just, if the poses are similar enough, you could just do minor tweaks to each one of them to vary them up. Okay, so this is how the stage continues. That's why it felt incomplete. It just ends abruptly. Okay, word of advice, I'd end this last stage in this room. The room preceding this one. That's a far better stopping point. But 32 is a lot more of a reasonable number. But I will say this. In order to have a successful Kickstarter, you need to start advertising now. Yeah, I'm not gonna do that. It's too tight. I understand that, Jaden. It's clarified enough. Again, what I would suggest doing now is start advertising and asking for help in the more proper circles, because the audience you're trying to court for this one isn't really available here. You need to go to places where people enjoy media like Queen's Blade. That's a very important thing. That's a very important thing when marketing games, when building, creating, and marketing titles. You need to understand what your target audience is and go where they go. Especially as a newcomer, where you basically have little to no following and you have to start from the ground up. Whoa, these are fast ones. Is it going to be difficult? Absolutely, but remember, you're competing against millions of other people with similar dreams. Okay. Oops. Hang on a sec, I gotta reset the room. Oh no. I think we may have a problem here. I want to make something clear. What is your target audience? I want to understand this just to make sure that I didn't mistake something. No, get me down. Okay, reset the room, at last. See, the mistake I made here was... See, the way you're supposed to do this is you're supposed to take down the elevator before going for the key. Otherwise, well, you either have to reset the room or perform some more precise air jump. The elevator... Never mind, the elevator's still stuck there. Do we really have to follow that... Well, I kind of understand why, but at least move the spikes closer. I don't know if it... Well, I guess you could rephrase... I guess you could see Balatro as a card battler. Or it could be rephrased to be that like that. Hang on a moment, let me figure out what's happening here. I'm trying to see if I'm making a mistake or there's an issue with the stage. See, if I go for that, I can't just turn... Well, I think it is possible to charge kick air jump like that, but it's precise. So what I need to do is... get that moving back down. And now go get the key. And the elevator's back down here. Shoot, that is a bit devious. Like, this is the only way I can think this would be the intended way of doing it. Unless there's an alternate pathway I could have taken. Also, we really could use a background here. And some more varied tile sets. Like... Beginner doesn't need to mean basic. Unless the key was supposed to be like a trick, it's supposed to be used for getting the M-Tank. Okay. I'm guessing it's the one that doesn't have the red warning or whatever. Okay, I guess it's completely optional, but if you take it, what's the intended way to get back up there? Do you have to move the elevator down just before you go for it? Okay, which pit is it? I don't think it's either one because they look the same. This one looks different. Yeah. That's one E-Tag, let's get the other one. And let's get out of here. Well, at least this was a pit that stood out from the other one. It's not like a complete guess. So... But this is very attentive, right? I'm gonna respond to your comment, Jaden, in a moment, but let me finish the stage. I'll just say this, for a pack that's designed for beginners, there are some elements of the design which really don't feel like they're exactly what I would put for beginners. I don't mind having optional challenge areas like the optional E-Tank down there, or, well, optional areas like for the M-Tanks in previous stages, or extra bonuses for more attentive players like that. But stuff like that E-Tank, but stuff like that key, that is devious even if it wasn't part of a beginner pack. Because even if you just decide to go back down and reset the room, the elevator will still be up there. Okay, and you do need the 2 keys for this. Okay. Now let's finish the stage. Let's finish the stage, shall? W. Broken up part of the art. A grenade. I just completely canceled that. What's beeping? That was weird. This sort of see, I get the impression, so far with the 6 levels I played, this really feels like it's started out trying to really be designed for beginners, but the further I get along, the more the design starts to have some weird diversions from what would be designed for beginners and instead going to intermediate. I don't mind the stages becoming harder, that's part of the difficulty progression. What I start to mind is when we suddenly have what we call here difficulty spikes on the main route when it's not necessary. Doesn't help also that some of the gimmick usages could be more involved without really changing how punishing it is. Not the true arena, but you're dropped into the arena. Like, imagine doing Spring Breeze and imagine doing Spring Breeze followed by Dynablade and then jumping into Arena. Something designed for beginners, at least 80%, but it also feels like it's designed by someone who isn't as experienced as some of the other level pack creators, as there's some other weird bits of lack of polish that I've noticed, like unnecessarily non-detailed backgrounds when they're easy to put in, and lack of variety of tile set. Okay, so to Jaden, for the game they're working on, their target audience is people who like games like Balatro and similar card battlers, and people who... It's a crossover between people who like games like Balatro or card battlers, with people who enjoy cheesecake / very fan servicey media like Queen's Blade, Senran Kagura, and Dead or Alive. My suggestion would be then, go to the places where people who enjoy those games congregate. Talk to people who like playing card battlers, or try talking with people who enjoy card battlers. Try talking with people. Try contacting people who enjoy fan servicey media. There's bound to be a lot of people who enjoy both. Contact them in both in terms of asking for beta testing, advice, or feedback, as well as advertising to them. That way, when you do the Kickstarter or some equivalent, you at least have established some minor fan base who knows that you exist. Like, the current fan base or audience I've cultivated, most of the members are not really interested in very cheesecakey things. I make jokes about them, sure, but I'm not really interested. Okay, Season 1 finished. Let's move on to Season 2, I guess. Next up is BNS1 Crystal Cave, 10 play, score tree. It's listed as Fe-amgn, so I'm doing it. This time though, let's go a bit faster. My friends are Oh yeah, if you haven't already and you want to join another fun community, I highly recommend joining the Team Almanac server, which recently went public a few days ago, earlier this week. Cool place with cool people. I know Jaden has joined it, but I'd like to see a few others too. Like tonight I'll be congregating and doing a community night there. We'll be having a community night there with friends. I don't think Joe would rather be that interested, but if we're sure. Again, know your audience. Joe isn't really that into card battlers either. And remember, there's more people in the community too. Like, the Super Freaks / Team Almanac community is more than just Joe, or me, Joe, and Jordan. There's a lot of more people who are involved, both directly or indirectly. Oof. Okay, that was a bit of a leap of fate there. Ahem. Yeah, how was I supposed to know that was coming? Like, not gonna lie. So, okay, let's walk this through. We charge kick here. I can't see down, so let's jump down here. Oops, bit of spikes. Unless you want me to quickly react to it, that's the... that is rude. Again, when you're making these levels, don't rush yourself, especially for level packs. You're not working for a time limit or competition. And the more you rush your packs or levels, people will start noticing and won't bother playing your other levels in the pack, which may be actually better. Take your time. Remember, you're competing with a lot of other level packs that have been submitted to the server. I mean... Okay, never mind. And now we got Alt 1 Blade Factory. An alternate take? Harder? I'm wondering if I should focus mainly on the main episodes, Oh, base. I'm wondering if I should just focus on the main episodes and worry about the alts and changes later. That way I can more reasonably complete this in time. Like, how much of a change is this going to be? Is the only change going to be we're playing as base, or is there something more? Also, this is assuming that the players have know how basically how base works, especially with the dash and double jumping. Because I didn't get an introductory stage with base. Okay, there's more. Yeah, okay, this enemy... This is hard mode because this, see this enemy here? Originally it just stayed stationary. This one starts moving immediately as I enter the room. And there are 2 crushers now. So yeah, this is hard mode. More enemies, and the previous enemies may have more difficult configurations. Really surprised there wasn't a pop-up attacker. I was just waiting to get stomped. Huh? Okay. The one with the over-exaggerated sound effect, making it seem far more dangerous than it actually is. Oh look, new background. And tile-set colors. Bye. Again, my main suggestion right now is start courting your audience. Start trying to locate and court your audience, both in terms of advertising and asking for feedback. Remember, you're competing against numerous other people, especially when I start getting into something like Steam Next Fest. As a matter of fact, I don't recommend getting to Steam Next Fest unless you're really... What happened there? Why did Crashman take so much extra damage in that shot? You really want to be prepared to have put your best foot forward before getting to something like the big leagues like Next Fest. So please, start marketing and courting your audience now. Like, start sharing some of the pictures to those servers that would be most receptive to you, and work your way from there. I'm gonna check out Sewer Kingdom. I'm gonna check out all 2 Sewer Kingdom, then go back on the main route, and won't get off of it until it's done. How's that sound? Actually, the best time for marketing a game is yesterday. The second best time is now. Okay, we're starting midway through. It's like they say, the best time to start practicing is yesterday. The second best time is now. Or today. How many levels are available in Fe-amgn? I'm curious. You may want to contact the Sage admins before, just to make sure the game isn't too NSFW. Excuse me? Did they just peace out? Okay. I guess that was a mirage. In reality, because of their placement, the moment they try jumping, they get glitched into the terrain and just vanish. Okay. What? How did you glitch them into the terrain like this? I thought that was a real one at first. Or it was gonna stay solid. I don't think this was supposed to be the most memorable feature of this level. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'll do the complete season, I guess. No use for this. Wait a moment, can I go down here? Yes, I can. Ouch. Just make sure to spoiler it because, yeah, that is, a bit further than that. I have to discuss that with Joe. Is this the intended one, or am I just going in circle? It is intended. Never mind, I'll just do it normally. Yeah, probably a bug with, changing the offsets. If you're gonna post them, I would highly advise spoiler tagging them. I've seen them on the Team Almanac server, and yeah, they are getting close to crossing the NSFW line. I've said on my server, so if you do want to add them, you must spoil tag them. And please, I would also advise, can you move the date? I'd also advise, can you please move the data signature to areas that aren't just loot spots? I just see it as a cheap way to just get more eyeballs on the more suggestive areas, when you really should just be focusing on keeping more standardized. Unless you really want to place it in those areas. For me though, I just find it to be just too cheap. I'm gonna ignore the change level. That's more of a suggestion from me, Jaden. You can keep it the way it is, but I just find it cheap. You say that, J Butters, but Isekai Mario got on stage multiple times. I don't know, just for my personal preference, I just find that to be a very cheap way. I just find it to be a cheap way to get more eyeballs into the suggested parts. Like, if you want to talk about something that's technically a Gunner game, well, that isn't technically, but some of the costumes available are certainly more suggestive than you would. They're kind of stretching the T rating. Okay, episode 6, Transportation Station. 13 plus 8. Push. Push. Can I even do this? No, okay. Haha. Stage broken. Just kidding, I'm going back down. So the way you're supposed to do this is push here, use this to open the door, jump here, and push this down here. Simple puzzle. They did, Jaden, but they're way less suggestive than the stuff you're trying to aim for. Or lewd. Again, find the target audience and where they frequent. This server and this server and Fe-amgn, I don't think you'll find many people interested in that. I can now see why Spacetwoo said not to use the charge kick air slide. I can now see why Spacetwoo said not to use the charge kick's air jump, because it breaks these challenges horribly. Well, you can always just try drawing traditionally without the watermark, scan it in, then add the watermark, and then scan it again. Also, again, can you please add... Oh yeah, that... Wait, I broke that. Stop. Hang on. Okay. There. Also, could you please add a more detailed background, like... Again, it doesn't need to be... Something being beginner-friendly doesn't need to be basic. Also, we randomly got the charge shot sometime. I guess for Season 2. Squish. But again, it's more of a personal taste matter here. And yes, I was supposed to put the blocks in correctly. I didn't do it right. In previous levels, having the charging air jump didn't break it too much, but for these puzzles, oof, it does a number on them. True, sometimes being able to choose a challenge actually makes it more enjoyable. And sometimes the more advanced way to do it sometimes the more advanced way to get to a challenge actually makes it, even though if it's faster, it makes it more difficult. Like, I don't mind there being unintended solutions to puzzles, especially if they require players to think harder, or are not necessarily easier. Like, I prefer my alternates to be just as difficult or harder to execute, or require players to stretch their thinking skills a bit, and not just think of obvious matters. For this stage, could we have another gimmick, please? I think we've seen enough about these. So in the case of you, Jaden, when I'll say that, try going to the Queen's Blade, what were the servers? I forgot again. I don't know. Queen's Blade, Senran Kagura, and Slash or Dead or Alive. Go to those servers and see if people are interested. Some of the people are interested there. Better yet, try checking out some of the indie game servers that are focused more on the NSFW side of things. Do you have a... okay. You want me to charge kick you? I guess so. Oh. Oh, this is, not the boss I'd prefer having that on. TBH, this is a bit of an awkward setup for charge kicking this. Try advertising more heavily there, then. I think I'll have the best luck that way. Yes. I was trying to jump. Got eaten. Nom nom. Oh, what? Okay, this is a good one. Thanks. Okay, we're out. Okay, I'm gonna take a short pause to get a glass of water and stretch. Then I shall continue with episodes 7 through 11. Then if I like it enough, I'll check out Alt 3 and Alt 4 to finish off. Right now, my thoughts on this are... Okay, I am back. On to episode 7, Blastomines, 24 plays, score of 11. I'll probably do the BNS levels, or the side levels, but this pack is not really interesting enough to do everything else. The previous stage was an example of something that could have been explored in more neat ways with the trains and blocks, but it ended up being fairly weak. The start was okay, and I was hoping it would go far in a more interesting direction after that, but afterwards, yeah, it just faltered. Sorry. There are many neat ideas out there, but the execution leaves a lot to be desired. Even the ideas themselves really should have been iterated on. We should have had more things stacked on each other. As a matter of fact, again, for a pack that's designed for beginners, ever since Season 1 was done, even in the late Season 1, I started noticing an issue where it simply is not iterating on its mechanics enough. Like, by this point, we should have noticeably more complex and advanced setups. We should have more difficult and advanced setups, I mean. And some of the earlier stages in the pack actually did have more neat setups too. Like, for example, episode 3 in the Blade Factory, where we got the conveyor belts and crushers. Here, normally I would prefer there being at least a pit of spikes below the first one, or electrified ground. After that, bottomless pits by now are okay, because this is episode 7. By this point, players should be used enough to get challenges where they can deal with the spikes in instant net. But I don't want to sound too harsh here, I'm just saying that this could be a lot better. I believe beginner packs are important. Like, we all start games as beginners, and it's important to start from somewhere, working your way upwards. And this includes Mega Man. I already talked with Manubi about how complicated Mega Man can be, or is. At the same time, though, speaking more to other I'm speaking to the audience here, as well as other prospective designers. Something being for beginners doesn't mean it can't be interesting. Timing. Okay, that was, yeah, just look at Kirby. Honestly, I say Kirby does a better job keeping things interesting for beginners than most of the mainline Pokemon games nowadays. Like, both are definitely designed for beginners, or beginners to somewhat intermediate players, but one does a far better job keeping beginner players interested. Well, more than just beginner players interested, but also the more skilled audience. Both are good enough. I would say both do a decent enough job. Okay, they do a decent to good job for beginners, but Kirby as a franchise does a way better job at scaling up the difficulty and offering optional challenges, and offering a nice blend of hand-holding and letting players experiment. Even being smart enough to understand when players need the extra help or not. Okay, this is the way you're supposed to do this. I did it a bit backwards. Of course, I feel the most interesting part of Kirby games isn't really the levels themselves, although that did change with Return to Dreamland, I guess. Spider... The most interesting parts of those games are actually the boss fights. And Kirby games are filled to the brim with mid-bosses, side bosses, elite bosses, optional bosses, and just regular bosses and full bosses. Also help with the copy abilities. Hey, base. Like, the main difficulty oh no. I couldn't see those, so yeah, I'm a goner. I see you. Take two of this. Oh gosh. Like, the best part of Kirby games isn't so much the level design, although that did change. It has to do with more the combat scenarios and especially the numerous kinds of bosses and optional content that usually revolves around the bosses. And in later games we had EX modes. Oh, I'm not sure about later. It may have been earlier. Citation needed because I haven't really played as many Kirby games as I should. Let me through! Yeah, I'm just air jumping that. Hello? Okay, we're out of the volcano now. When did the directors for Kirby change, Jaden? After which game? And the important thing is, the base Kirby experience, for the most part, barring certain exceptions, has a steady difficulty curve and it's a very beginner friendly, or pretty beginner friendly. While still offering avenues for more skilled players to express themselves, either through optional challenges or optional modes. Optional collectibles, challenges, or modes, and I see. Grab here. Oh no! See, this is a stage that actually shows something that's more interesting. Because it's the more confluence of factors coming together. We should have had... Oh no. We should have had more stuff like this in the previous levels. Oh no. Okay, that is very rude. There should be a warning that there's solid platforms here or not, so you don't just get dumped into abyss. EX modes have been a thing since the first. Yeah, technically, yeah. Well, actually, there was an EX mode in the first one, so yeah, I retract my statement. After Amazing Mirror, or Squeak Squad, probably Squeaky. EX modes have been a thing since the first game, but their implementation has been vastly different. Good to know. Do these really have to be this slow? Oh. Like, at this point in the stage, you don't need to make it this easy. Oh my goodness. Ah. Also, thank you for giving me the charge shot when Season 2, I guess. Ah. This is more of a problem Maker where you can't really see enemies fire projectiles from off screen. There's a lot to be said about the evolution of copy abilities in Kirby, but yeah. With Amazing Mirror, it was more of a open world-ish design, so I could understand that. With Squeak Squad, yeah, it's kind of one of the most just exists mainline Kirby games, so to speak. Episode 8, Frozen Island, 7th place, score of 2. I'm gradually gaining more abilities over time. This time I got the ability... Last time I got the ability of... Fire. Full state. I think everything else I'm going to say about this pack is probably going to be repeating the same points, so I'll be quiet here. Unless there's something else to discuss. Oh yeah. Tomorrow morning I'll return to Hollow Knight. Oh, but from where I last left off, it was 95% done. Next time, I'm gonna dive back into the Void. Or the Abyss, not the Void. And yes, I know I forgot to sit on the King's Chair. In a bonus part where I will stitch it together in the full edit. So yeah, next time, I'm gonna dive into the Abyss and grab whatever is down there. And then, I guess do the Fragile Flower side quest. Or, before I do Fragile Flower, I should try getting all the other collectibles, especially the Mask Shards and, Charm Notches. Easy. Then I can go for... Once I'm done with that, I can go for Fragile Flower, save the grubs along the way, and then go for the Arena Challenge. Heck, while I'm doing all of that, and after I'm done with that, I can go hunt down the other members of the Grim Troop. And because I know for a fact I didn't purchase 3 specific charms, the fragile ones. And before you ask, yes, I know there's a way to upgrade them. One of which I really want to have for the arena and the final boss. Ouch. Oh wow, it took this long to have pop-up attackers. Okay, now the stage difficulty has gone from basic to intermediate, I'd say. Well, less than a few minutes, but I didn't have a few minutes. I was already several minutes past my deadline. But yeah, this time around, I am gonna get that, and at the very least, what I want to accomplish tomorrow is getting the troop. Getting the Fool's Challenge done. Getting all the mainline collectibles. Maybe getting the Fragile quest done. Maybe even completing the Grim Troop. Okay, that's a little bit desynced here. Oh no. Darn it. Oh well. Maybe even get the Grim Troop done. And for the stream following, I'm gonna save getting the other ending and maybe the Pad of Pain. The Pad of Pain I'm gonna save until I get all the health shards back. And grind up a little bit. Got Home I'm gonna save for last because oh gosh. Boss rush. Like, God Home is something that's gonna be pure, like, post-game stuff. Really post-game. I don't even know what you're referring... Well, I know what you're referring to, but we'll get to that when we get to that. Eventually in 20XX, if I'm still... Eventually... Oh shoot! Oh my goodness, okay, this is, that's one way to have a climax, I guess. Not the climax, actually. Oops, wrong button. Okay, so ever since Blast of Mines, we actually got interesting level design back. What happened to the previous stages? I'm not just referring to the start of Season 2, but the late Season 1 as well. Like, this is not... I wouldn't consider this good. I still wouldn't consider this good, but interesting things are happening. And it's intermediate skilled. And like, suddenly I'm interested again. Vaguely. Oh boy. This is gonna hurt. Let me out. Well, the designer woke up, I guess. Oh, bunny. I don't have a shield. I don't have a shield or central weapon to use to easily deal with them. I forgot where I got the green key, but sure. But yeah, tomorrow for Hollow Knight, I want to try beginning just about everything, including the Trial of Fools and maybe the Grim Troop ending. And then the stream after that, we can go on getting the next better ending, the quote-unquote truer or true ending. And God Home can be saved for its own thing. Like once I get the truer ending that better connects to Silk Song, I consider that beating the game fully, or I consider that game beating the game sufficiently to a point where I'm happy. And besides, next week I'm not going to be streaming level packs. I'm going to be getting back to Quicksilver Forever because I do want to finish that too before Christmas, or maybe during Christmas because I'm going to take a break during that time. Episode 9, Charged Ruins. 10 play score of 2. I am at least gonna sample part of God Home, just to show the stuff on screen, like the introductory parts. But if I'm gonna try beating it, it's gonna have to be off screen, and it's gonna take a few months. Sorry, there's just too many other games out there that I want to check out too. That'll cut into the time. Now, if there are platforming challenges related to God Home, I can show those on stream because I can deal with those. Hey, at least for God Home, I don't need to worry about being overcharged. And yes, I will change my setup for charms because I know it's very suboptimal what I currently have. Beep beep beep. I'm slow, okay. Who'll be fighting? Nobody. And now I backtrack. At least we don't have dynamic enemy spawns. After grabbing that. Although that could be done here. Once again, I've mostly run out of things to say. Huh? I know there could be something up there. Up. Okay, this is scary. I know what I'm supposed to use here. I can't cheese this because there's no ceiling to hook onto. Although I could just use the combo here, but... you know. I see it there. Excuse me. What? Excuse me? That's a pit now? Mega Man? Hello? Are you okay? What do you... Okay. That was really strange. Okay, I know the intended way, this is gonna be painful. Oh, hi. When did you get downstairs? And now you're back upstairs. I'm trying to let go. I don't think I'm gonna win this. Yeah. Okay, we're getting the collectible here. Nope. 2. Up. Sucks to be me, I guess. I entered the boss room and immediately it ate that beat part. I'm trying to let go, it doesn't let me. What even is your weakness? I looked the wrong way. Let go, let go. Okay, we're out of here. Please tell me there's a checkpoint nearby. Okay, thank goodness. Leads into the next stage. That's why it has an abrupt ending. Still, I would have preferred if we ended in the room itself. Yeah, the last 2 stages are better than this. Episode 10, Castle Invasion 2, 6th place, score of 2. I'm gonna do this in Spookin, then Sunbreak Breach to finish this off. He was weak to wire adapter. Should have known. Oh, I'm just covering the level pack Fe-amgn by Spacetwoo. I'm close to the end of it. We had a whole bunch of discussions about beginner design and Mega Man design in general near the start of the stream. Start in the mid. Nope, I'm not commenting on the background. Ah, darn it. Wait a moment. Wait a moment. Hang on. Now that I know that's gonna happen... Yeah, I realized that using the wire adapter in that setup would be perfect because of how the arena is set up and how it's difficult for Nitro Man to actually get down there. I should have thought about that. No, wrong one. Huh? Oh, you put blocks in the way. It wouldn't work anyways. Anti-cheese. Okay, that's... I have to think about this. Reset room? Okay, now this is doable, so... Interesting. Oh, wait a second. Hold the phone. Oh, okay, I get it. Now, this is an instance of a neat puzzle, how it's building upon something we've learned already. We got a staircase way up there. And it's the first time we've seen that we can lift the light blocks up by using the fans. Like, I wanted to see this in the first stage where we had the train and blocks. This is neat. Because here's the thing, I know it's the solution is straightforward, but for what this pack is trying to be, think about this. First time you get into the room, you're forced to go down there, and when you reach the other side, players may think, oh, just push off one of the blocks on the left, but then you realize you have to go over there to the right and use the fan to lift it up there and stack it up the tree. I know, not that difficult, but this is actually somewhat intricate and a nice iteration of what we've seen before. Yeah, many players don't realize that you can lift up the light blocks using the fans. Oh no, no, get me out of here, get me out of here. Oh, I should have just used the lift. Oops. Go, 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 go! Uh-oh. Yeah. This looks like a job for repeated wires. If there's one thing that this pack does, if there's one thing this pack consistently does, it's giving wire adapter its due. Like, we're getting a lot of leverage out of it in many parts in this pack. Oops, that's not actually solid. Like, even in this part of the stage, it was more convenient to just use the wire adapter instead of charge kick air jumping. Like, this is a natural way to incentivize players to use the wire adapter without having... This is a natural way to incentivize players to use the wire adapter without having to resort to very direct ways of gating off the charge kick. Level structures like this. Now, if I could get up there, I'd be really happy. Thank you. And the Mega Man fans grew happier. I don't have the red key though. Also, it bears repeating. Mega Man 12 hype. Well, there goes my key. And the Yoshis grew sadder. Wire as a utility really got a notable buff in Maker, being able to shoot at the same time. Of course, if you want an even better use of the wire adapter or better implementation, take a look at all the crazy things you can perform with it in Minus Infinity. That's wire adapter at its best. Excuse me. Oh, that's not your fault. That's the engine. It desynced. Like, they should all be in the same elevation, but of course it doesn't all the time. So because of that, it breaks the charge kicks. It breaks sliding. And unlike Mega Mix, where even if there's a slight variation in heights, it'll still allow you to slide over it. Here, it's not that forgiving. It has to be dead on. Hi, Tedley. Just covering level packs. Okay. This does not protect me against crushing. Keep that in mind. Oh no! Ugh. I wish there was a utility that protected me against crush damage. It'd be really nice. Or have a conveyor, or have binoculars, but you know. Oh, that's Maker stuff, not your fault. There are many things I'll criticize this pack for. The atomic platforms being desynced like that, that's not your fault. It's an annoyance that many designers have run into, and it depends on a confluence of factors. That's it. Oh no, no. Yeah, it saved me there. I'm not gonna bother. I just want to get out of here. EEX. I have a charge shot, I can deal with whatever the game throws at me for a boss fight. Yeah, for a Fortress stage, this is actually fairly decent. Of course, some sections are better than others, but everything we see in the previous levels makes a return here. No, no, here. Yeah, we'll try again. Yeah, I don't care. It's fine. A random dead pit. I was hoping there'd be a way back. I died enough. I perished enough times in that room. I just want to move. Let's see, Tedley. Your level pack is... At the current rate, it's going to be next year, actually. January 3rd. Because after this level pack is the Mario Mega Man crossover pack by Neko Dave. As much as I enjoy playing Maker, I sometimes need breaks, and if I do too much, then I start to get very cranky and overly critical about stuff. And unfortunately, a lot of these level packs, most of these level packs aren't really doing it for me. If anything, most of the time that I enjoy about these level packs aren't the level packs themselves, it's the discussions they generate. Like for tonight, all the discussions on tutorial design, beginner-focused game design, and the various projects people are working on. Yeah, next week I'm not covering a level pack. I wanted to go back to Cook Serve Forever. And then the week after that is gonna be Neko Days pack. Let's try this again, shall we? Wire. Let me guess. I didn't take that, so I don't have the weapon. Okay, I have to get past the hard part of the fight. Well, he is slowed down by this, so that is basically his weakness then. Okay, this is a little bit awkward. Okay, we're good. Whew. Tough level. This was legitimately an intermediate skill stage with some tough spots, but it's a cool way to close off the pack. I don't think I'll cover Spookin' because I don't know. Overall, the pack isn't really doing it for me, so instead I'll end off with this level. Episode 11, Sunbreak Beach. 11 plays, score 4. Yeah, I want to close off the year by finishing off Hollow Knight and Cook Serve Forever, so I'm not going to overdo Mega Man Maker. After the difficult journey Mega Man's gone through, it's about time for him to kick back and relax at the beach. But one last challenge lies there. You know, for what you warned me about earlier about not using the air slide, it doesn't really break that many parts of the... It only breaks really one level of this pack. I know it makes certain challenges easier too, but really, when he said that, I expected it to break much more of the pack itself. Off-screen sign. If anything, it just makes it a lot more... If anything, in many of the places where it makes the challenges more... It breaks the intended flow of the challenge, it makes it more enjoyable. I was hoping this pack would be done a bit sooner. To be fair, when I was going to this pack, I thought when it said as a beginner it's going to be very clumsily built. It's not clumsily built, it does have neat ideas, but there's a whole glut of levels in the late part of Season 1 and early part of Season 2, or first half of Season 2, which are need some reworking. Some to a lot. Time Man? Okay. Lol. Thus ends the reign of Time Man. Get rid of the mimics. Or don't even shoot them. That's the easy way. Wait. But one of them is the real one. Gotcha, there was a boss fight back there too. Anything else you want to discuss, J Butters? Yeah, I'm kind of empty here too. What? Okay, now I'm a bit confrazzled. Where are the other orange keys? No, too high. Keep. Okay. So it was there, I just need to explore it more thoroughly. Ouch. Okay. We doing this then. Game's RNG is not being nice to me today. Ooh, okay. I have to tap it a little bit, otherwise it will get stuck there. Sheesh, how fast do I have to do this? Wait a sec. Hello? Need down. It just slots right into place. That's... wait a sec. Let me just lower the water level. Maybe that'll help. I could also slow down time, so let me first do this. Yeah, it's... yeah. Time's slow. Got it. There's my key. Now, get me out of here. This is supposed to be a beach vacation for Rock. Into the facility! There it is. Bears repeating. I appreciate placing these extra tanks for more attentive players, and the tanks behind some of these, and the tanks behind the keys, which you have to look out for. Or it's a bit more challenging to grab, sometimes. Three, two, one, go! Oh no, no, no! Excuse me, game. Why didn't you allow me to do a jump normally? I didn't even hold the opposite direction. Well, I didn't lose too much, so I can just get back there, no prob. Okay, that'll be safer. 3, 2, 1, go. Passing through. I was gonna say this is easier at first, but then suddenly whale migration. For an end game, for the end of the pack stage, it serves more as a denouement versus the climax. That was the previous level. Hard man? Yeah. That's it, we're done. I know there are a few more levels in this quote-unquote season, 2 seasons of packs. Those being BNS2 Spookin', Alt 3 Blastomines, and Alt 4 Charged Ruins. But I'm not going to cover them here. As my overall toss on this beginner focus level pack is that, it's okay. It started out decently enough with the really beginner focused, as in beginner to the point of assuming the player has never played a Mega Man game before, level design, and the first 2, maybe 3 levels did a decent job acclimating the player in. I'm referring to some tutorial, the intro suburbs, and Blade Factory, but after that it kind of lost its way with its gimmick usage. The first thing I noticed was that there were some odd difficulty spikes that didn't really make sense if we're being designed for a beginner. Like, okay, before, there were some oddities with some things being a bit too punishing for beginners, but those can be ironed out. These things, starting from episode 3, started to get more and more noticeable with the problems. I'm not counting BNS in that because there were bonus more brutal stages, or alts. In addition to that, the gimmick usage just was too basic and didn't elaborate enough. Now, where it started to, and this served true for the start of to the end of Season 1 and the beginning of Season 2. However, it did fix itself with Blastomines and Frozen Island, Episodes 7 and 8 respectively. Charge Vision was Castle Vision 2 was a nice climax of everything it built up to that point, and Sunbreak, even though it wasn't as good as the other 3 aforementioned stages, or 3 aforementioned levels, it still acted like a neat denouement. The pack started on basic and ended on the intermediate scale to note, but despite what it's being aimed for, I wouldn't actually recommend this to beginners outside the first 3 levels because, well, let me rephrase it. The first 2 levels and most of Stage 3, aka Episode 2, barring the fight against Metal Man, and maybe Grenade Man because those are too tough. At its core, this pack is trying to be geared towards novices, but its design is it needs several reworks. In any case, thanks for watching, everyone. I'll see you all tomorrow morning for more Hollow Knight. Thank you very much for watching, and have a nice day.